Elena, welcome to the cave.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Got a great movie coming out this week. Is there
Yes,
Demigod? Well, it's gonna be an exciting time. How excited have you been about this project?
I've been very excited. Last year during the shutdown, it was for a while we weren't working, and this was one of my projects back, and it was a really fun one to work on. And it's always nice when it comes out pretty soon after you film it. So I'm really excited that it's coming out now, just in time for Halloween.
That's right. Yeah, I can't wait till we get into more talk about the movie and all. I was doing a little research on you. How did you decide to get into the acting world?
So I actually was studying hotel management in college and was completely miserable. And we had to take electives outside of our major.
Yeah.
And I had always had this idea about acting, just, kind of in the back of my head. I never thought it was anything realistic. So I decided I would take an acting class for my elective, and it would be a way to just get it out of my system and do it and just be done with it. And unfortunately, I fell in love with it. And I just realized that this was what I had been waiting for, and that I would pursue that and not be miserable anymore.
Did you just do switch your major around, or did you finish with hotel management?
No, so it was at that point it was too late. It was my junior year,
Okay.
and it was my spring semester junior year. So it was too late to switch majors. And honestly, I mean, I still felt like my degree was useful because it was basically a business degree.
Yeah.
And, things like marketing and finance and that's all useful in any career, really. So from there, from my spring semester junior year, then my fall semester, I took the next acting 201 or whatever the next one was. And then I actually graduated after that fall semester. So, and just, made the decision to move to New York City and do the acting thing. I didn't really tell my parents for a while, but yeah, they eventually,
How did that conversation go?
Well, so, I kind of phrased it as moving to New York City. I'm going to try a couple different things. Maybe I'll start working as an extra to make some more money. And I did also do a couple things with my hotel management degree. Like that summer I worked at the US Open for tennis in the city, and then I started waitressing. But then my parents were kind of like, since when do you need a college degree to waitress? And they kind of started getting a little bit suspicious. And then the following fall, I had realized, well, if I want to be an actress, I need to study more so people will take me seriously. And I applied to drama school. And that was, at that point, I then kind of had to tell them, but I think they still thought it was a phase. I mean, sometimes they still think it's a phase, I feel like.
They're hoping one day you're gonna go home and just say, I work at a hotel now, or
Yeah.
but I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, you took a jump into it, and then you did like Hunger Games and Walking Dead and American Heist, so can't complain about that.
Yeah. But I think part of it is, so a lot of the movies I've done are, I guess, action movies,
Yeah.
or I either die in them or I do the killing. And my mom doesn't like that stuff. So she has, out of all the stuff I've done in, 10 years, she's seen maybe one or two of the movies I've done.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes she still doesn't really know what I do because she hasn't seen it.
Yeah. I mean, I know with the audition and everything, but how did you fall into that category where you're doing all action? And have you tried to get out of that a little bit, try to go into comedy or other things?
Yeah, so it originally started because I was a gymnast my whole life. And so when you first become an actor, people think no one thinks it's easy, but they think there's a straightforward path where you get an agent and you just start auditioning and then eventually you book roles. That's not how it happens. First of all, it's really hard to even get an agent. And then once you get an agent, it's hard to start auditioning because you're competing against people who have all these credits. So you have to kind of use what makes you unique and what your strengths are. And for me, that was, I had this gymnastics background, which meant I was very athletic, and I was able to perform certain skills that maybe not everyone was able to. So the first big auditions and big roles I booked were because of that. So that, you know, then leads to the next role, which is kind of similar because people know you can already do that kind of stuff. And eventually you are able to branch out, and I guess that's what I've been doing the last few years. And, you know, hope to do more of. I haven't really done comedy yet, so that's something I'd like to try.
So it's on your bucket list.
Yes, it's on my bucket list. Yeah, and also, yeah, I would love to do like a romantic comedy, and maybe it would finally be something that my mom could watch.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about your new movie. It's coming out this week, Demigod. How did you get involved with that project?
So for Demigod, I originally got the call to audition for a smaller role in the movie. That is it was one scene, and I booked the role, and I was super excited about it. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a call and was offered this role of Latara, which is a much larger role. I mean, she's in the whole movie. And it was because due to COVID, some of the actors on the project actually had to be replaced. Wow. And it was just kind of like a being in the right place at the right time kind of thing. And this was so soon before shooting. I had about 3 days from the time I found out to pack all my stuff, get to Mississippi, learn the whole script. Like there was not a lot of time. So yeah, and that's how that happened. I got very lucky.
So when you got the role, I mean, from what I can see online about the movie, it's there's 3 witches, right?
Yes.
And you're one of the witches. So like, how do you prepare to play like a role like that? Like, did you like, because you said you only had like 3 days to like jump and prepare yourself to try to go play this role?
Yeah. Well, so luckily I had already read the script from when I had booked the other role, so I was familiar with the characters, I guess as an outsider, you know. And then when I became Latara, I just kind of made a decision of how I wanted to play her. And Miles, our director, was so great in that he gave me complete freedom to just make whatever choices I wanted. And yeah, I mean, so Latara is like, she's a very complex, layered witch. She's not just, you can't just say she's an evil witch. She's got a lot more layers to her, and that was really interesting for me to dive into and figure out how to play that. And honestly, some of it just kind of came out as I was doing it because I didn't have that much time to prepare. So I just kind of went with the flow.
So you said it was filmed in Mississippi, but the movie like takes place like in Germany, right?
Yes.
So was it because of COVID? Is that why it didn't actually get filmed in Germany, or like how was that? Do you know?
Well, I think it would just be a lot more expensive to fly everyone out to Germany, and most of the cast and crew was actually local to Mississippi and Louisiana. They were amazing. And this so we filmed at a campground in Mississippi that we also lived at. So it was perfect because we were all quarantined in this campground together. So it was super safe because of COVID. And every single filming location was on this campground as well. So I guess when they were looking for locations to do this, they were specifically looking at campgrounds where we would be able to live and film. And this one in Lumberton, Mississippi is the town, the nearest town or whatever. It just ended up being perfect for that.
So you weren't allowed pretty much to leave once you were there filming.
They preferred us
Okay.
not to leave, but I left like once or twice to, you know, go to the grocery store or whatever, but
Okay.
obviously always super safe, wearing a mask. But other than that, yeah, there was no, you know, hanging out in the town, going to bars. I mean, I don't know that you would really want to do that during COVID, but yeah, there was no leaving the campground. And I also didn't want to. I really enjoyed, it was kind of, it was like a workation, you know. It was so peaceful and relaxing to be in this campground, just away from everything. And the cell service was horrible. So our phones barely worked. So you had to just kind of be there in the moment, you know, see what was around you, like be in the environment, talk to the people. And that was just so refreshing and awesome, especially after a year of crazy stuff going on.
Right. How long were you on set for? Like, how long did you guys film the?
It was about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick shoot, which is amazing to think that you can, you know, make a movie that quickly.
Tell us, without spoiling, tell the listeners, the viewers, a little bit about what the movie's about.
So the movie is about our lead actress, Rachel Nichols. Her and her man go to Germany to visit her grandfather's cabin. The grandfather passed away. She spent her childhood there, but this is the first time she's really been back to visit. And this cabin is in the Black Forest in Germany, and there are also other things that are in this Black Forest in Germany, and that part of it is based on the Cernunnos myth. And Cernunnos is this creature which lives in the woods, with, you know, without giving too much away. And us witches are also in this forest, and put everyone together and chaos ensues.
Fun things start happening.
Yes.
How was it working with like Jeremy London and Rachel?
So I actually did not meet Jeremy or work with him because he filmed his stuff and left before I got there. Rachel was amazing. I had never worked with her before, and I was familiar with some of her work. Like, I had, during the pandemic, I had just watched Man in the High Castle, which she is in. So it was cool getting to know her and work with her, and she was so great. She was completely game for everything, and yeah, she's very sweet, and she had a lot to do. So yeah, she was awesome.
Have you had a chance to watch this now before it gets released to the public?
Yes.
Yeah. What was your reaction, your thoughts after you finished watching like the finished piece together?
Well, so it's funny because when I watch a movie that I'm in, or especially one, you know, that I was pretty much there for the whole time, I can't really watch it as a regular viewer. It's more kind of like a video journal of my time there. So I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, I remember that scene. Oh, that day it was like almost raining, so we were almost not going to get it, but we knocked it out just in time. And oh man, that night was super cold, but you know, that dinner that night we had was really good. So I'm kind of like thinking about all these things. But if I take a step back from it, I'm very happy with how it turned out visually. Like it's visually very appealing, and I am happy with how Latara, which is the character I play, I'm happy with how that came out on screen. So
the big question is your mother going to go and see this movie?
No. I mean, you know, maybe since it's one of my bigger roles, maybe I can kind of convince her, but I have my doubt that it'll work.
How can I know it's opening up in a few places in the country? How can the listeners and the viewers find it on Friday so they can watch it?
Yeah, so it's going to be on all the purchase sites. So for example, iTunes and Amazon Prime. You can, if as soon as you type it in Google, it should pop up where it is available for purchase. But yeah, I guess easiest is iTunes.
Awesome. What's next for you? Any other like projects that you can tell us, give us a little sneak peek about that you're allowed to talk about?
Yeah, that's always a hard thing. I cannot really talk about the last thing I booked, which is a big one, which I'm excited about, but I can't tell anyone about it, and it's so frustrating. I have been getting more into behind the scenes stuff, so I'm trying to get more into producing so that I can also produce projects that I can be in. So I'm currently doing some behind the scenes stuff on a film that it's filming in Atlanta, coming up now in November. So I'm excited about that one. And it's, fun to learn more about the behind the scenes stuff and see how all this stuff really gets put together.
That's awesome. Lastly, how can the listeners and the viewers find you on social media?
So I'm pretty much on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, as the Elena Sanchez. So THE and then my name, Elena Sanchez. And that's just because Elena Sanchez was already taken. So everyone's like, why do you have a Z in front of it?
You want to be special. You want to go up a little bit higher than the next.
Yes, there's only one
right?
Elena Sanchez. I mean, come on.
Elena, this was great. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.